But from some indication, it looks as though lots of young people don't seem to connect with this. As much as one may try to present some facts, but they just wouldn't hear it.
Connect with what?
With the fact that there's a vision for you in this country. Our founding fathers want this country to be great. The government will reel out facts and figures as always, giving them hope. But they just say,
well,
look, what we see is not what is being said.
The slight disagreement I have with the younger generation is that they feel politics is not for them. And that's wrong. They're happy with the social media. They're happy to do. They're not a lazy bunch. They're getting things done. But they're not connecting, I agree. But that's not the fault of the government. They should be connecting. I don't see why there are no youth wings, for example, of all the political parties. That's where change comes from. That's where you breed leaders of the future. Let them ask the questions, get interested. When I chaired the section on business law, as indeed with the NBA, we have a youth, there's a youth group, a youth committee. And it's heavily funded, it's supported, and youth in the bad terms ranges from when you've been called 5 years, 7 years. And we get them to organize their own activities, conferences, and they get people like us for free to come speak to them. That's the breeding process. Those are the leaders of the future. I don't see why it should not be done in the political circles.
You say it's not the fault of the government that they're not connecting. You don't think that the government also has a role in trying to draw out the youths from their shell?
Let's stop asking the government to do everything. You insist. If the government resists, then we know there's a government who's anti-people. I agree. But you see, whenever government leads the role, okay, how will government do that? All youths come and do whatever. It may get bogged down in our confusion. But if the youths themselves get organized and demand to become members of this political party, demand, as we can see in some cases, there are some active youth groups that are asking questions. They're holding their own national discussions. I've been invited to one or two of them. I've actually had to go on mentoring discussions. That's happening. It just needs to be a bit more coordinated. And let them not begin to feel government for somebody else. Many of us made that mistake. You are in your own place, you're working hard, you're doing your own thing. You don't feel those people, government is not for me. That's a mistake. Government is for all of us. We need to go there. We need to take part. We need to ask the questions. We need to disagree. What we are saying is that there's a country to build.
And the government also
and this is not the time to stay.
It's for everyone.
And it's for everyone. There's a country to build. And that's what the president is telling you. There's a country to build. Nothing wrong with being criticized. Yeah, he just happens to be the one there. He wants to be remembered for good. And we all pray that finally he's remembered for good. But what he's telling you is, come in here and let's all work together and keep this dream alive.
So I say, well, if something really bad had happened out there that everybody will feast on. But I got a few right who says we must celebrate our indomitable spirit. He says we're great people who are excelling all over the world. But he also goes ahead to say that the bane of the entrepreneurs in the country is multiple taxation. Sure. And they really need to do something. It's killing small businesses, he says. You have to pay LG Health, Fire, and about 5 other permits in addition to other taxes. Well, I do know that they have said they were going to do something about multiple taxation, but I'm not sure if anything's been done because they're still complaining.
Yeah, but strangely, last week my driver went to Uyingbo and then they seized the car and said he had to have fire extinguisher license. They realized about 5 or 6 taxes or whatever, levies or so they were supposed to have paid. I've been at town hall discussions with the governor of Lagos State where he's declared a lot of these taxes as illegal. And again, he has said, don't pay. The only problem is, the practical problem is that if you paid a little, they'll let you go. So do you want to stay for a few days just to assert your right? That's the difficulty many people have. But most of these is wrong, and I think not just the Lagos State government, but most governments who have introduced these arbitrary taxes should scrap them. the system of taxation, as I said earlier on, comes with responsibilities. If you provide things for people, people will willingly pay taxes. I can tell you people pay taxes willingly in Lagos because there's this perception that the money is being used to good effect. Elsewhere, they will be resistant. So again, it's cost benefit for many people. The tax system is really killing a lot of small businesses.
Time and again here, we talk about the functions of the local government. What exactly do they do? We go out there, you see people mount through all sorts of sticks with some very sharp nails, trying to force some things out of you. But that's the most
primitive. It's primitive. It's primitive. That should not be. But again, it's tied to what we've been discussing. Until the reforms of the local government system takes place, we're going to have a lot more of these things. We must get to the point where people of much higher quality go down to the local government areas to bring about proper governance, because that's where you actually connect with the people. Unfortunately, the way things are today, they appear to be just points at which the state government exercises its influence. And so the more you can get people who can pander to the wish of the governor, the better. And they themselves know it. Many local government chairmen simply don't do anything. They don't even get their allocations. Or if they get them, you don't even know what they do with them. So we must really, going forward at 52, be concentrating now on these local governments so that the right quality of people go back there and begin to make sure that the dividends of democracy work for our people.
It goes back and forth. Some of these, you look at some issues in times past, just immediately after independence, you get to read them, some of them, and you realize that we had a good and fantastic moment to the extent that everyone looked forward to Independence Day, whether you like it or not. Even in the 80s, children would want to even change their stockings and their cortina shoes and go for the match past. But for now, we're losing out on all of that. Now, if you bring that to what has, what you just explained concerning local government or grassroots governance, what can we say is responsible for, some of these lapses or some of these once upon a time good times, to the extent that now we have some bad moments and awful moments, and if truly it is a fault of maybe grassroots governance, how can we return to those good old days of better governance at the grassroots?
Well, it's again, the gauntlet is with, for a change this time, the government. The government this time should make sure that these local government reforms take place. That's worth calling a conference for, not a sovereign national conference, but it's worth calling a conference for. Because if the state government and even the federal government is going to get pressure off it, then they must make sure the local governments are working very correctly, because the allocations to them are relatively good, given the circumstances in which we find ourselves. It's the use to which the allocations are made that is really bad. And that's why everybody is a law unto themselves at the local government levels. And many of us don't want to have anything to do with them. That is an aberration. And one of the major things we must correct at 52 beyond is the local government system.
Something I found very interesting is also the celebration of the day itself, like Sulaiman was pointing out. Now we're told that the day is a day for sober reflection. Has this always been the case, or is this something we're beginning to see now?
Well, celebration should really be affected by what you make of it. In the early days, I still remember in primary school, after independence, we used to go wave the flag and do all manner of things. By the way, they still do it. I remember my children, when they were in school, all were doing the independence thing. So it's not as if it's all died down completely. But as we begin to face the challenges of governance, you begin to tell yourself that perhaps you should be in a more somber mood than celebration as if there was no care. It's no different from the way you run your private life. And there are some people who just choose not to celebrate their birthdays, not because it's not a memorable day for them, but perhaps it just calls for them to look, where am I at 40? Okay. Where am I going? What should I be doing? Nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't lose sleep over that.